All right, here we go. Another interview, and today we have Kelly Prindiville. Welcome, welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. It's an absolute pleasure. You are going to be my first Australian guest. I've had all my American friends interviewing, and so it's really nice to have well, I was going to say I'm kind of an Australian because I live here, but I'm a Kiwi, so I don't know. But between the two of us, I think it's going to be a really good conversation to have, especially because there's such a big culture around drinking in Australia and New Zealand. Although when you look at it, I think there's a big culture of drinking everywhere. So yeah, so thank you, Kelly, for being here. If you wanted to just introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and then yeah, maybe just start us off around your alcohol-free journey.
Yeah, cool. So I'm Kelly, and thank you for having me. I'm a mum of three boys. I am very proud of my children. It's probably my biggest, I guess, the biggest job that I feel that I have is being a mum, and I think I'm a bloody good mum. I tell my children that all the time. Um,
Someone's got to celebrate being a good mum, right?
exactly,
Normally we bag
exactly.
ourselves out and say, "Well, we're a terrible mother," but no,
Yeah, they
we,
now
yeah,
tell me I'm a terrible mum. They tell me enough. Oh, mum, you're the worst.
love it.
So I've worked full time in a corporate career since I was probably 19, and then I quit doing that last year to start a wellness coaching business, which I really love. Um, yeah, so that's kind of all about me. My alcohol story. It's so hard to say where it started. You know, there was lots of like um, my dad had a drinking problem, a very high functioning alcoholic, and probably something I couldn't really not accept. I just didn't admit it. Um, so I had thoughts around that from quite a long time, and not that I never considered myself to be an alcoholic, and I still don't. And yeah, I didn't have a rock bottom moment or anything that happened, just really small like incremental things that would happen where all of a sudden drinking kind of lost its fun. You know, like alcohol is fun until it's not fun anymore. Um, and I'd get to a point where I would be drinking and I would be like, why am I doing this? Like, and I would just pour another glass because people around me would. And then literally in my mind, I kept having these stories of why are you doing this to your body? You're going to be sick tomorrow. You're supposed to be running in the morning. That's not going to happen. And then I tried the whole moderation thing where you kind of go, well, I won't drink Monday to Thursday, and then I'll do, it's a typical story for everyone. And then I'd be like, well, who will I drink with? You know, if I'm only drinking 3 nights a week, well, I'm catching up with these people this night. So what about this night? And oh, how will I go? And maybe I'll drive so I don't drink. It was actually exhausting. Like just the chatter in my mind around whether I would drink or not, it just wore me out.
Yeah, I think that was my story too, Kelly, is that I just felt like I was almost obsessed with it without realizing that I was obsessed with it because I was planning, oh, what am I going to drink on Monday? What am I going to drink on Thursday? Oh, I can't have that on Thursday because I just drank that on Monday and I still feel a little bit seedy from that. Oh, what else can I drink? And then your whole week is just consumed with entertainment being alcohol.
Yeah, yeah. And look, I really didn't drink probably Monday through to Thursday, and that would be what I would tell myself. But you know, someone pops over on a Tuesday with a bottle of wine, or it's someone's birthday, and then all of a sudden you're like, you've actually drank 5 out of 7 nights a week, even though I would openly be like, oh, I don't drink Monday to Thursday unless, and then all of a sudden I was drinking more nights than I wasn't.
Yeah, the little excuses of oh well, it's just for this. Oh well, it's just for that. I can just excuse my own commitment to myself for 4 days and just drink anyway. Yeah, that's fascinating how our little cheeky brain thinks it's a good idea to go against everything that we want for ourselves. So then if you didn't have a rock bottom and you just kind of got sick of it, when did you make the decision that you were going to go all in on being alcohol free? I'm curious.
You know, I don't know that I ever made that decision. I went on a holiday for 2 weeks where I drank 14 days straight and I was never a massive drinker. I mean, I could handle my alcohol, but I could drink a bottle of wine in one session. So after the 14 days, I came home and I caught up with my mum and my in-laws, who are people I drink with. And I drank again to welcome us home. And I woke up the next day and I was like, I just need a break. My body needs a break. And deep down, I think I knew that it would be a really long break. I don't know that I ever knew that it would be forever. And I still don't tell people that I will never ever drink again. I just have zero desire to drink. Like, I could go into my kitchen right now and open a bottle of wine, except I don't even have any in my house anymore. Like, I don't say to myself, you can't drink, you can't have it. I just don't want it anymore. And people are like, will you ever drink again? And I'm like, nah, probably not, but I don't know. But I just keep saying to myself, why would I? Why would I do that again? It's not something I miss. I mean, I never wake up in the morning and go, damn, I wish I had a drink last night. You know, so I just can't see why I would ever drink again.
I love how that I actually spoke to someone this morning, and she was much the same as that. She doesn't tell herself that she can't have it, so she does it from the place of she chooses not to have it, and that for her made all the difference. I don't think those were the words I used. I think I might have been a bit harder on myself actually around I just can't do this, like it doesn't work for me. And so I really have closed the door on drinking serves me absolutely no purpose, and especially after 3.5 years. And so I have closed the door on it, and it's just no longer, I no longer want it to be part of my life or need it to be part of my life. So it's fascinating how you've been able to still be in a really healthy relationship with alcohol and just not desire it. Like it's a friend that's there, but you never need to really call on it to, to emotionally help you regulate or anything like that.
Yeah. And look, I was quite unwell. When I was 41, I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was probably a 12 to 18 month period of trying to work out what was wrong with me. And I was really unwell, and I just got more and more unwell. And when I was healed from cancer, I didn't then, it still took me another couple of years after that to go, oh, you're insane. Why are you drinking alcohol? You've already had cancer. So that health choice did come much later. But that 18 months of feeling so unwell every day, I'm like, why would I ever make myself feel unwell? Because my body does not like alcohol. It never, ever has. I could have the same hangover from one glass of wine than I could have from a bottle. I mean, it never stopped me. And now, after going through what I went through, I'm like, why would I do that to myself?
Yeah, voluntarily signing up to feel like ass.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense at all.
I always kind of laugh, I'm smart, I'm savvy, like I got my head screwed on, except for this.
Yeah, exactly.
So then, I'm really curious because we're both in Kelly and I are in a coaching container together where there's a group of millionaires, and we are in, I suppose, and there's always groups, networking groups, where there are a lot of very, very smart, intelligent women got their shit together. And I know from my perspective, I don't think, many of them probably don't have a drinking problem or no issue with it. They still choose to drink, and that's totally fine. But I also think there's probably a handful of people that's just silently slipping behind the scenes and, let's not make a big deal of it, but probably question their relationship with alcohol too. But I'm curious because a lot of these networking events that we're going to, they're all really focused around alcohol. This whole let's celebrate with verve and let's celebrate with, gosh, 3 years and I can't remember the names of my champagnes. What's going on here? It's, celebrating with Dom or, really, really expensive champagne. And I get it because I used to be one of those people too. I'm curious to know your views or your perspective on, I suppose we've got this wellness industry, and then we've got this coaching industry, and then this massive crossover of smart, intelligent women doing things, I suppose, that go against almost the wellness part. Like, to me, it feels a little bit incongruent. Tell me your thoughts.
Do you know what? I struggle with this so much because one of my biggest philosophies in coaching is that, you know what, you are a grown-ass adult and you can work out what works for you and what doesn't. And then there is this part of me that says, look, if someone can drink alcohol responsibly and it doesn't impact them, then is that okay? And then I always come back to, but I wouldn't be saying to you, go light up a cigarette if it helps relax you, you know, and if you look at them in terms of how toxic they are to you from a wellness perspective, they are the same, you know, and I have these conversations a lot, particularly with my family who are all drinkers, and they're like, you have to have, you know, beer in your house when a tradie comes over. I said, well, I don't have cigarettes. Like, I don't be like, hey, do you want to smoke? Like, because to me, I put alcohol and smoking in the same category.
Yeah.
And people just can't fathom that. And to be honest, even I struggle with that a little bit because I don't think it's a fear of judgment, but I probably haven't evolved, and we haven't evolved like around alcohol like we have around cigarettes. So, I mean, I struggle with this with my own children. So my son just turned 18, and I did bribe my son with quite a substantial amount of money to make it to his 18th birthday without drinking. And I didn't do that because I didn't want him to drink. I did that because I didn't want him to drink because other people were pressuring him. So all his mates knew how much money he was going to get paid if he made it to his 18th without drinking. And he did, unfortunately, for my bank account, but very fortunate for his health. He made it there, and now he doesn't drink. He'll be 19 in September. He's just watched all of his friends kind of grow up drinking, and he's like, I'm not doing that. But he's like me with it's not I'll never drink. I just don't feel the need to drink now. And I struggle with that because I had a lot of fun as an 18-year-old drinking. But then do I want my son to go and tip, you know, a toxic poison down his throat? Well, of course not. So it is a real internal battle for me. But also from a wellness perspective, particularly for women who I coach going through perimenopause and menopause, alcohol wreaks havoc on your system. So it would be one of the first things that I would recommend that people let go of, because the most important thing to your wellness is your sleep, and alcohol is just a nightmare for sleep. So I'm still very, probably to be honest, in my infancy around developing how my thoughts and feelings, I mean, to me, there is no place for alcohol and health. They don't belong in the same, but at the same time, everyone needs to come to that conclusion themselves. And I would hate for someone to be like, I'm not going to work with you because you're going to make me quit drinking, so I'm just going to throw out every possible health benefit I could have because I continue to drink. But
Yeah, the idea would be you get them to see how they feel throughout that journey and then decide if alcohol still serves them and whether that, so then they have that sovereignty, that choice of knowing that what it does to them, and rather than kind of, you know, like we talk about white knuckling your way through not drinking and really not enjoying the process of, you know, making your health better in other ways, we can always tack that on the end, you know, and vice versa. You know, some people can quit alcohol just like cold turkey and be no problems with it, but then white knuckle through it, get to the end of 3 months, and then, like I did after 88 days, and then celebrate myself for having 88 days alcohol free and get right royally drunk again. So the lesson just hasn't come back because I haven't, I think, really sticking to that identity around, you know, that I'm changing the behaviour, but I'm not necessarily changing the identity, and knowing what my deeper purpose is or what my why is behind why I don't want to drink. So yeah, I'm with you. But I used to be a smoker too. So so the both of them were like, they were my two little besties, and I was able to do both of them at the same time because, of course, it's the same thought process and it's the same feelings, and you know, they're twins. They're my twins. But when we were in Japan, I was interviewing my husband, and we were having a bit of a laugh with it. And I said, "Look, if I said to you that I was going to take up smoking again, what would you think?" And he looked at me and he went, "Well, why would you? That's just wrong. It's crazy." And, you know, so I was like, "Yep, I agree. Don't worry, I'm not going to start smoking." And then I said to him, what would happen if I said I was going to start drinking again? And he just like burst out laughing and he's like, let's go. or, like, or so am I, or something like that. Like, so he hasn't been able to quite shift that identity piece around the drinking. But yeah, it's funny how our brain goes to, well, smoking, oh, gross, no, not going to touch that again. And yet, drinking, like you said, exact same kind of health benefits, there are none.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I know. So does your partner, husband, partner,
Husband, yeah.
still drinks?
No, so it took him 2 years. So I had to watch him tear himself a new asshole just about every other weekend. And then it just got to the point where, yeah, 2 years later, he was still, he, he didn't declare this at the time, but I knew it was happening. But there was like a bottle of whiskey in one of our cupboards, and I could see it going down, down, down. And I didn't want to be that wife, right? So I just said, nah, look, don't worry, I'll just ignore it. Like he's an adult, he gets to drink, he's fine. I just have to remember, what my emotions are and not let his drinking impact me. And so when he actually decided he was going to quit, he came home from grand final one night and he had a snakeskin of clothing that had been like walked from the front door to the lounge. He was asleep on the floor. He can't remember getting to bed. I had woken up the next morning and gone for like a walk and gone for a coffee and done all my things. And he had no idea what was going on. So he just made the decision. He just said, yeah, I need to do something and I'm just going to stop drinking alcohol for 30 days. He said, I'm just going to stop for a month. Oh no, I think he actually said, I'm going to go for a year. And I was like, yep, up's to you. It's totally supporting you. That's fine. And then through that 12 months, we kind of talked about, his like what were his signs and what was he doing. And he kind of fessed up that he had been topping up the whiskey with other things so I wouldn't notice that the whiskey was actually going down. But of course I could see it going down. And then he would tell me, he'd just duck out on the phone, but he'd actually go down to my little studio and he'd grab a beer out of the fridge and scull a beer down there and then come back up to the house and then sit down and have the drink that he was having. So he was just having these little sneaky behaviours and behind the scenes. And I didn't realise that was happening, but I did notice that there was beer going down in the back and then it kind of wasn't coming back. But again, that was his journey, right? That wasn't my journey. And I just knew that I had to either be okay with him drinking, or I had to get to a point where I would draw a line in the sand and say, this is not the life that I want, and from there kind of make that decision. And I was just about there, Kelly, until grand final when he tore himself like the biggest asshole ever and decided that he was done. I was like, oh yes, because I don't want to have that conversation. Like I love my husband, love my husband, and of course I've been married a couple of times before. So one of my worst fears is that I don't want this marriage to be like a failure, and even though it's just not even. Yeah, that's what kind of happened with his journey, and I had to watch it the whole time. It was awful, but it was an experience that we've both grown from.
Yeah, yeah. And it is hard, I think, when it is surround your whole life is surround like I literally chose my friends based on people I could drink with. Like I used to be the one who went around saying, "Oh, can't be friends with them. They don't drink. Can't trust people who don't drink." And now I am that person.
I love it. I love it. Um, is there anything hard, like especially for your clients, when you think about the people that you've worked with, what do they find harder than expected when it comes to either being like deciding to be alcohol free? Do you notice anything in your clients?
Yeah, well, I don't really do sobriety coaching.
Mm,
And like I said to you, I don't know if before we jumped on this call, I don't really talk about my decision to be alcohol free unless someone
mm,
wants to talk to me about
right.
it. Um, but I have some clients who have sort of like, I really want to cut down my alcohol and look, and I always say to people, and what I did was I just filled my brain from every single podcast possible about the damage that alcohol does to your brain, the effect that it has on your body. Like, if you go and you really, and I actually genuinely say to people, if you don't want to give up drinking, don't listen to this, because you can't know that and continue drink. I just don't think you can. Like, and because I really didn't want to go back to drinking, I just literally drowned myself in every possible research, podcast that I could on, and listen to people that have kind of come out the other end. Because one of the things, I think it takes more than 3 months and even 12 months to be, for me anyway, to be really comfortable with that I am a non-drinker. So I fully now, I don't drink. I say that to people. I'm a non-drinker. I identify as that. Like, I never go, oh, I'm just not drinking. I'm a non-drinker. I'm a non-drinker until the day I decide to be one. But I think that first year for me was really hard, because my whole life had to change, my whole interaction with my social groups, and they're still not the same. And there are days where I almost grieve that person that I was and those friendships that I had. But your real friendships come with you even in a different capacity. But I think, it's not, for me that year was not all, oh my God, it's amazing. Like, it was literally like, I had some real work to do. I had some real work to be like, why do I actually come home and open a bottle of wine after a hard day? Like, why don't I sit in that? And why don't I ask myself, why was that so hard and what triggered you? Because once you open a wine or you have a drink, you just stop thinking about it, right? And that's exactly why I did it. I was like, I need to shut my brain off. I don't want to deal with that. And then I was like, well, if you don't deal with it, it doesn't go away. And it shows up in different parts of your life or your relationship or, your physical health. So, you need to take alcohol away, I think, knowing that there's a reason that you drink. And if you don't address that, you just can't move forward. I mean, and that goes for so many things. It can be food, it can be smoking, it can be alcohol, it can be poor choices in relationships. Like, it can be anything. But for me, it was alcohol, because I could not shut my brain off.
It's a bit like when you're given a protocol from a doctor, like, or if you've got some type of, like, you come out in rashes and they give you those little skin prickle things to find out what you're actually allergic to. It's a bit like, try alcohol free for a week and just see what happens, and then notice how good you feel or not good you feel. Like, just notice, take it out, put it back in, take it out, put it back in. I love the idea of experimenting with it so that you can have agency over the decision whether you drink or not drink and be okay with it.
Yeah. And one of the greatest joys, which is so weird, that I found out of not drinking was my ability to drive everywhere. Like, I just can't even, when you're done, and I'm a little bit of an introvert, where when I'm socially done, my battery's done, I want to go. And there is nothing worse than getting to that point and waiting for an Uber. Like, now I'm like, I'm out, got my car, I can drive. And as my boys were getting older and they were going out at night time, I was like, I need to be available always. I can't have my son being like, oh, I need you, and I can't get to them. So all these little kind of, glimmers just started coming out, where I was like, I am always fine to drive. And even now, that actually feels like a gift for me. Like, even 3 years on, where I'm like, yeah, I can drive. It's Saturday night, 9:30. Of course I can come and get you, whereas 3 years ago, I would have been like, oh, no, I can't drive. I've had too many drinks. And that was never the mum that I wanted to be. So that to me it just gives me so much joy.
Yeah, and you're even in that mental tug of war. Oh, okay, not going to drink tonight, but I'll go to the pub and have dinner with my friends. And then someone says, "Oh, I'll just have one. Come on, like, stop being a, whatever, nudge, nudge." And you go, "Oh, okay, I'll have one then." Then you end up having three, and you go, "Oh, but I've got to drive, so I bet that better be it." Even just all that mental tug of war of, should I, shouldn't I, but I promised that I wouldn't, like, but then, and then you beat yourself up and you get home and you feel like ass the next day again. Oh, all of that literally goes away.
Yeah, and there is so much, for me, there was so much guilt and shame around drinking. And I mean, you're an energy worker. I'm not, but I'm very big on it. But they're like the lowest vibration feelings. Like, they're awful. And it's so interesting for me now. Like, if I ever drank too much and had to spend an hour on the couch in a nana nap, I would just be like, oh, this is so shameful. How can you? Now, if I need a nana nap, I have so much compassion for myself. I'm like, oh, you're tired, have a rest. It just comes from such a different angle of me really wanting to care and have some self-love. And I want to feel my best. And yes, I deserve a rest. And it's not because I was drinking or I, had the extra 3 or whatever the night before. It was that I actually want a nana nap, and that is okay.
And you wake up feeling so much more restored as well. Like I know, I think I might be actually entering menopause, not just peri, because I haven't had a period for like 7 or 8 months. So I think I'm just about on the back end of it. And I gave up. I started my sober kind of journey in 2020. So that's, what are we, 6 years. So I would have been in the thick of perimenopause probably from 40 to, maybe up until last year, 45. And I don't know how I would have coped because like I love my sleep. I got to have sleep. I love it. The thought of having a child at 40 or 45, I'm like, no, just couldn't do that to myself. Just no. Um, and I cannot imagine what the last 6 years would have looked like if I was still drinking.
Yeah, me too. Same. Like, and I'm so proud of the role model that I am for my children to give them that option of, and they've got the whole of society to give them the view of what it's like to drink, because just about everyone around us does. So I just am like really proud that I'm that person that gives them you can live a great life without alcohol. I have fun. I actually love the shit out of my life. Like, there is nothing in my life I don't love. And I think that that's really lovely for them to see someone grow up, I'm very grown up, that's not drinking.
My daughter says the same thing. She's like, Mum, I see you do it. And then it's almost like her permission slip. So, they went to a concert not that long ago. She's 22. She went to a concert and they were both like, we're not drinking tonight. We're going to go alcohol free. And they loved it. She said, my God, the music just felt different. And then, of course, the next day they didn't pull up, hungover or dusty at all. So I love that we are able to be those role models and be able to show them that they get to choose, and not from that really hard place of you're not allowed to drink because it's bad for you, but you simply don't drink because know how you can have or do life without it. So yeah, I love that too.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've got one last juicy question for you. What would you tell your younger self?
Wow. That's such a, and again, this is the one that I struggle with, because if I think back of my childhood and my relationship with alcohol, just think of it as fun, and I think that's really the trap, because it feels like fun then, because you have no great responsibility and you can sleep in, but I wish as a younger mum I gave myself permission to not use alcohol to make motherhood easier, because it doesn't. So if I think about me as, look, I didn't really start drinking till I was 18, probably maybe a little bit before that. And again, because my body just didn't like it. I just would feel sick, and then I forced myself to drink, and I had my great little years. I got engaged at 19 and married at 21, so I did settle down very young.
Yeah.
And my husband and we did lots of drinking and partying and all that sort of stuff. But I think I fell into the trap of, needing a wine during motherhood, and I just think I would have been such a better mum if I wasn't drinking, and if I didn't fall into that, 1 o'clock at 5. And look, I get it, being at home with little kids, it is hard. And sometimes the whole, let's just go to the park and have a wine is just your way of like, oh my gosh, I just got to get out of here and I need to connect with other women. And you use your wine as an excuse, really. So I think to my younger self, I would be like, you don't actually need it. Doesn't matter what's in your glass. And I still feel that way, when And I still have friends who are a bit uncomfortable with the fact that I don't drink. And I'm like, why does it matter to you what's in my glass? Because I
Mm.
don't care what's in yours. Like, you make that choice. So, yeah, I think I do really wish as a young mum. I mean, I was 26 when I had my first child, that I didn't use alcohol as much as I did. I think I would have been a much more present
Present,
mum.
yeah. That's what I've heard, I think, from a lot of the mums that don't drink, is that they're just more present, able to, rather than when your children are having meltdowns, you're not having a meltdown with them, and then using alcohol to kind of cover over. So, yeah, definitely, I think support networks too, right? So you talked about like having, don't worry about what's in your glass, having the right support network around you to help you with the children and to help you with just having an adult conversation, I think super important.
Yeah, definitely.
Any last words, my friend? Thank you so much.
Um, Not really. I mean, I would encourage anyone to go on an alcohol-free journey, but you just need to be ready, and I do have a lot of my friends that talk to me, and you can just tell they're not ready, and you do need to be ready. And I think that readiness actually starts while you are drinking. The minute you start questioning, you know, how often you're drinking or whether you really need it, that's the start. To me, that's the start of your sober journey, because
That
I think
is.
you've got to get there before
Yep,
you try the
that
alcohol.
seed's been planted, and you're ready to actually just see where this ends up. Absolutely, that took me a little while to get there. I didn't have a rock bottom, but certainly lots of seeds and lots of people around me that didn't drink. So I suppose I had people in front of me that showed me what was possible, even though I did not believe it for myself for a second.
Yes, I would never ever have believed that I would be a non-drinker ever. Like, even now, it blows my mind. And when I hear people go, "Oh, I could never not drink," I'm like, yeah, that was me. I would have said that, and I would have even said to you that I don't want to be a non-drinker for a long time.
Yeah.
Like now, I'm like, I just can't imagine going back to drinking.
And
Really.
that's why I came when I came up with my brand, because I'm a Kiwi, so over there you say sweet as. Well, this was like, do you want to drink? Nah, sober as. It just felt cheeky. It felt playful. Definitely felt like me. Yeah, and it just really anchors me every time I think about that. Nah, I'm sober as. Like, I'm sober. I don't drink. Like,
I know.
I'm all good with it.
And you know what? I am so much happier for being a non-drinker. I used to drive to work on a Monday, and I'm not a depressed person. Like, I'm pretty optimistic most of the time. But on Monday morning, after drinking Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Sunday was the day I really liked to drink because the sport was over, everything was done. I was like, I can just relax. I would literally feel depressed and anxious every Monday driving to work. And it was kind of those Monday mornings where I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, and it'd take you to Wednesday to recover, and you'd have one day of like, right, I'm back, I feel great. And then you start drinking again Thursday night, Friday night. And I was like, that's madness, Kelly.
Yeah. We do this sauna, swim, because the ocean's right next to the sauna, and breath work on a Sunday. And there's a group of us diehards. We go at 6 o'clock in the morning. So right now it's pretty much almost winter time in Esperance, but we go at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's still pitch black. We absolutely love it. And when we first started going, Dave, my husband, he didn't come initially. It took him a few weeks to end up coming with us, but we'd roll out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning, would be getting our bags ready, would be getting the, hot water ready for the cuppa afterwards, the breath work, and eating our toast, and we're drinking our hydrolytes, and we looked at each other and we're like, who even are we? Like, who are these people? We used to be the couple that would be like, the last one standing. We'd be walking home right now, not going to a bloody sauna. Oh.
It is crazy, that reflection, isn't it? And on that note, speaking of, who am I? And same with my husband. I mean, he does not identify as a non-drinker. He's not there yet. He barely drinks, but he's still stuck in that. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready to say I don't drink. But I was really worried about. We have a really solid marriage. We always have had, and I was really worried about. We drink together. That was our thing. A couple of bottles of red by the fire. It was like, this is what we do. And I thought, well, if I give up drinking, what happens to us? And to be really honest, if anything, we've got closer, because it's just real now. The connection is real. There's no, oh, we've had a few wines, we need that to connect. We just don't need it.
Half the time I couldn't even remember what we'd been talking about the night before. Like we had I remember having all these amazing plans and all these amazing dreams and all these things that we said we were going to do, and then you'd be so hungover the next day and it would take you a few days to remember, and you just never really got around to actually achieving your goals or your dreams. And we definitely felt like it was Groundhog Day. But it just took one person to recognize that this wasn't a healthy relationship. And certainly, I always like to do a 10-year litmus test. Like, if am I going to be married to you for another 10 years? Yeah, okay, I quite like you. Like, let's stay married. And I think the same thing is like if you were in a relationship with alcohol, could you see the next 10 years of your life looking like the past 10 years with alcohol? And if the answer is no, then that's your cue, right? That is your cue to lean into that sober curiosity, because the next 10 years looks different. Why? Why does it look different? What are you worried about? And that's what happened to me. I started to actually get quite worried about my health, and I didn't want to die young. So it's the why changed. It changed from just being an experiment to, oh shit, I actually want to live a longer, healthier lifestyle, and yeah, and be married with my best friend forever. So
Yeah, exactly. That's so true. And look, about having someone, from someone's point of view who's had cancer before, there is nothing worse than the possibility of I did this to me, and I think that was really one of the reasons that I was like, because I toyed a lot with if my cancer comes back and I've given up alcohol and I've given up all the things that I love in life, I'll be gutted. And then I was like, I will be more gutted if I kept drinking and my cancer came back and I could have contributed to that, and I think that for me was a real, like, I don't ever want to do anything that could possibly make my cancer come back, make me unwell, make me not here for my children, and it's just not worth it.
we're so much wiser now, aren't we, Kelly? But that's what life's about. We have to learn these lessons to understand, like, oh, that's not what I want. So what do I want? Oh, I want this over here. So I think it's a great reflection, and honestly, it's the perfect way to wrap up our conversation. So thank you so much. I'm definitely going to check back in a couple of months when hopefully we've had more of these alcohol-free conversations. So thank you again for being here. Thank you for saying yes to my crazy harebrained idea to come up with this podcast. And thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Thank you for having me.